Hello, everyone. This is Henny Espinosa with Just Wish Foundation. Today, we are joined by Boone Johnson, who had an eye-opening experience and actually turned that eye-opening experience into an opportunity to help orphans in Uganda and their community as well. So thanks for joining us here in Just Wish Foundation, Boone.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your background, and was giving back always a part of your life?
My background, I'm a pretty simple guy. I come from, I'm from Oakland, California, and I was raised with both my parents. And, I think giving is something that my family represents just in general. I grew up watching my parents take care of other people, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was something that, people do. My dad would cut our neighbor's grass for no reason, just go over there and do it. And then they would buy groceries for other people, And so I think I had an example of it. And so I think it's just in my brain, like in the back of my brain, so.
So it was always there when our opportunity arises.
Yeah. It's just like Thanksgiving, my mom is always asking, is this person going to be alone, or they make enough food to feed a whole village. And so the door is always open for anybody really,
So you're based in San Francisco, right? In the San Francisco Bay Area.
I'm in the Bay Area.
Tell us about kind of the field that you're in and how you meet people all the time, and how people know you in the community.
So I'm in hospitality. I work for the Plumpjack Group, and it's a blessing to be able to work in an industry where people are gonna come around and I can meet people, because it's an opportunity to touch people's lives. Because it's a bar and a restaurant, so people come down there. And they come for all kind of reasons, and I end up talking to them, and they talk to me. And so I want to meet people. So going in there with those intentions, I end up having great conversation and meeting great people,
So talk to us about that turning point in your life, that eye-opening experience. You were saying one night you couldn't sleep and you just happened to be browsing through social media like many of us do at night when we can't sleep. But tell us what happened. What did you see?
Well, I think people have these moments, where you kind of like, you might be down a little bit about anything. I happened to be down at that time in my life. I'm just kind of feeling like, what am I doing and where am I going with my life? And also, I felt like I was putting a lot of emphasis on growing myself and being successful. And I was going to open up a restaurant before COVID, and I started analyzing, like, what are my intentions for doing this? Am I doing this because I want to say I'm successful and everything, And so in the middle of the night, a couple of years ago, feeling like that, just kind of feeling down about myself, I was on social media. It was about 4:00 in the morning, and I was in my bed. I wasn't able to sleep, and I saw a post from this guy named Kagozi, and he's from Uganda, and he was just posting pictures of the orphans out there, and we all see different posts of people posting of things going on in the country and everything, and usually we see it and it's like in our head, like I saw that, but you kind of like swipe past, and it's kind of a normal thing, I think, And so, but that night was very different, because when I saw them, I stopped. Something told me to stop. And when I stopped, I looked through it and I saw these kids playing outside in the dirt with this broken dump truck. And the joy on their face, I was just like, wow, like these people are playing, these kids are happy in the dirt, in suffering. And I'm over here in a rich country, a rich state with everything I can really ask for, and I'm feeling down and depressed and living with a little bit of anxiety and fear, And so it watching them, it made me break down actually. And watching it, I went through the photos and everything, and then I sent them a message in the moment. I was just like, I said, what is it that you guys need, And I left that message, and then I fell asleep. The next day, I was still in that state. I was thinking about them, and I was sitting on my couch, bored, with everything, but bored, and I got on there and I was searching for something to buy, and I was like, I was going to buy some shoes. I remember it was some New Balance tennis shoes I was going to buy. And I had them in the cart and everything. They were $161 or something like that. And then, I told my wife, I said, as I sat there, I was like, I don't need these shoes. I have so many shoes. And why am I buying these? I don't really need to buy these. And so I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to donate this money to them, and we ended up donating $161. And then maybe a day later, they sent me a message and they were like that this money helped them pay their rent for 2 months. And that really was like where the change happened for me in my head. It's just kind of like this, we have so much, and just this little bit did make this change for this beautiful community, And so that's kind of where I started there, and I felt called right there. I'm like, I want to try to do something with these people. I want to help them. I know I can. I know we can, because we have so much, and it only takes a little bit from us to just do something. And the little bit really begins with just thinking about others, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
That's great. So before we go into a little bit, because when you're saying it a little bit goes a long way, it kind of really puts things into perspective.
It does.
Of, like what you were saying, we have so much, and it only takes really a little to help others. If there's that initiative, if there's that actual push to take action, and not just to feel things, because sometimes it's easy to just, I feel sad for them, but people tend to not, really take it a step further. But tell us about this community first, that you reached out to. Tell us about the children that are there.
So the kids there, they remind me of my kids when they were little. And they're just regular old kids playing around, and they don't have much, but they have a lot, in the sense that they have their community and they make the best of it. And they do things that really make me think about like my childhood, playing outside and singing and just kind of horsing around with each other. And so they dance a lot, they do all of these things in their conditions. And it's mind blowing to me, because I don't see that much out here. And I think it's because a lot of children are distracted, and nothing, the kids out here, I'm not saying anything negative about America or the kids out here. There's just a difference in the children, because these kids don't have a lot, but they make the best out of their situation.
So are they orphans? Are they like, what is this community? Yeah, this is the orphanage.
Yeah, so the orphanage is called Shepherd's Hand, and it was founded by a guy named Simba, and Simba was an orphan himself. And so being on the streets, he took on like a couple orphans, and they stayed together, and he was caring for these orphans, and it just ended up growing into about 40 of them, right? Wow. And so he has a relationship with the police department, and they sometimes give him orphans, right? But the problem is that they give him orphans, but they don't give him resources and stuff like that, very little, And so I felt he's called to this too, and he's like, I really respect that he puts his time into this. He loves playing soccer. That's like his passion. Another thing that he wants to come to America, but he, maybe down the line. But his care for those kids, I'm telling you, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I watch him, how he like fathers them, and he has help. He has other caregivers, and the ladies, they're mothers, right? And so they all like do these parenting type things. They're cooking, they hold them accountable. When I was out there, I watched them. The kids might be horsing around too much, and they were like, get down, get down from there. And it was just interesting to watch that these 4 or 5 people are taking care of all of these kids, and they're doing their best to try to keep it going, to get funds for food and just to feed it. And they really have the bare minimum. They really do. And we wouldn't know that from over here just watching the post and everything, which led me to investigate further,
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that journey to Uganda and kind of the community that you saw and witnessed what was going on. So tell us about the community and how dire the situation is out there.
So like most people here, when you see something like this, it's kind of like, is this a scam? And I went through that for at least the whole time until I got there. And that actually was the thing that motivated me to go out there, is because I needed to see for myself to verify that they're not trying to scam me online, because our communication was just video chat and through Instagram messaging and stuff like that, but the whole time I felt like, this is serious right here. But in the back of my head, I was kind of like, is this a scam? So I planned a trip last year, July, but I wasn't able to make it. Like Ebola broke out and there were some other things going on in the country, right? And so I still had it in my head, I'm going out there. And so I planned the trip this year at the end of July for a few weeks, right? And so I didn't tell them I was going. I snuck because I wanted to see it raw. I didn't want them preparing for me and making things look nice or anything. I kind of wanted to just knock on their door so so I can see, and I did just that, And when we got out, it was so funny. I called them. I had a day out there to just kind of explore a little bit in the beginning. And so my contacts out there, they took me to like a little restaurant, bar type of situation. We had fun and everything. And I realized they took me there first just to kind of get me in, because it was going to be tough the next day. And I didn't realize that. And so I called Kagozi, the guy who I originally met online. And I told him, I said, hey, what's your address? I'm in Uganda right now. And he was so shocked. He was like, what? He was like, brother, do you mean you're here in Uganda? He was really, feeling like, wow, And so I told him, I said, yeah, can you give me the address? And then he gave me the address and we drove over there, and Simba wasn't there. He was doing something else. And so he was headed over. I got there, and as we drove over there, I realized we were like going into the slum. And I had previously saw what the slum looked like online, but I didn't think that they lived in the slum. I thought they lived like near the city of Kampala, like in the city, right? And so as we were driving through, I was like, wow, this is a trip. Like, I can't believe that they live in this like this, right? And so I saw that it was rough. And then we saw each other, we hugged each other, and they asked me to come inside into where their living quarters. And so I went in there, and the kids, man, they came up to me and they started hugging me and everything. It was just kind of like we were family. And I was like, wow, it warmed my heart. But being close with them and building up over a year, I'm sorry this. So sorry, this builds up emotion. But when I saw them, it was like, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
It's beautiful to see them and then see where they live. It was so hard. I saw their plan. It was like a beautiful thing, but they were also, I was just paying attention to like where they live and how they eat, and some of them don't have shoes on, just living below human standards, in my opinion,
And these are children.
these are kids,
Yeah, yeah. Who all already have been through trauma by being
yeah.
orphans. Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're sick too. Some of them are sick and they don't have the resources that we have. And so I'm so sorry I'm getting emotional like this. But it was really
But
hard to watch.
rightfully so, Boone, because you saw it yourself, and so
I
that's what
saw it. I
makes
can't
it
see it.
difficult because I mean, you just didn't see videos or images. You were
Right,
actually there, and you saw how dire the situation was,
right, right,
is
right.
still. Yeah.
I can't unsee it. And it's interesting because they came up to me hugging me. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. They came up to me and they're hugging me, and I was just like happy to see them. And then Simba started taking me around, showing me their living conditions. And I'm telling you, that's where I couldn't hold it back. I just kind of broke down because I'm like, wow, their sewer system is running through their community. There's trash, there's pollution. They burn their trash because their trash system is not, they don't have a system like us, right? And so I'm watching these other orphans, I'm walking past these houses, and it's just getting harder and harder. These kids are sitting on the porch, they look sad. The mothers, they you can tell that they're in poverty, right? Now the orphans are babies, they're walking with no, they stay behind. Simba's walking me through the community, walking through the community. I'm seeing all of this stuff, and he's taking me to where the worst part of it, which is a few feet from where these kids live. And it's just, you see this open sewer system, and I say sewer, it looks like it should be a stream, but there's trash in there. And it's right where, this is where malaria is coming from, basically. Is the mosquitoes lay eggs during the day and they hatch at night, and they bite on these kids, because their living quarters are not sealed. And so, I walked through there, and then I had to get it together because this is their life. This is how they live, right? And, Simba looked at me, he said, brother, this is Africa. I was just like, it hit me. I'm like, wow, this is not where I live in these conditions, And so to watch that, it makes me feel like, I have to do something because I know I can. I know we can, people out here. I just think that they just need to know.
Yeah.
People don't know because we're consumed by our lives out here, and we don't realize how blessed we really are here. How I could just take a little bit from what we have to help these people. Even it's not only money. It's if my purpose of doing this is I want to help them, but I want to inspire other people to want to give, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you can give money, you can give your skill, and this is not only an Africa thing. This is just in general. We can, help people by just being loving towards people and just maybe listening to people sometimes. And this is that's how I see a little bit goes a long way, as something to inspire people to want to give and to give. I'm sorry.
To give and to love. I think it really starts from actually feeling that strongly, even for strangers.
Right.
Because it's if you have love to give, and it really starts from even something small, it becomes bigger. So let's talk about kind of what really set that commitment in you that was really sealed from that trip to Uganda. And so in that moment, you decided, I'm going to formalize this and actually start an organization. So tell us a little bit about, a little bit goes a long way, and kind of what that message is, what that, just by the name itself, what you hope people to feel and do, not just feel, but do.
Well, so when I donated the 160. I asked them, what do they need? And originally they wanted to purchase the land that they live on to build a home. And I could see why they wanted to do that, to own it, because they can, they won't have restrictions. The person that they're paying for is kind of their government system over there is not like ours. So it's not going to be, the contracts are not the same, right? So things don't go like us. When we purchase a house here, it's like it's ours, over there it's a little bit differently. But they wanted to originally buy the land. And so I asked them how much it cost. It was like 10 grand, 11 grand. So I did a campaign to raise 15 grand, right? And I was asking people to pay $15. And to the point of a little bit goes a long way. If I can gather enough people to give just $15, we can raise 15 grand. So we came close to the number, right? But during the process, they started, poverty is there. So they needed food and supplies, and me being connected with them, I'm talking to them all the time. And I'm like, now I am caring for them, because of my communication. I understand what's going on. Now there's a bigger picture. Now it's not just the land right now. I'm aware that they struggle getting food. And so I started giving them monetary funds from the donation to give them food. And that right there was a turning point too, because it changed my thoughts of, let me just raise this money for the land and you guys have the land. Now it made a bigger commitment. It caused a bigger commitment from me, and which led me to think that, okay, I want to start a nonprofit, because I believe if I start a nonprofit, I can actually do the work that's needed over there. Mm-hmm. And so that's how a little bit goes a long way. Mm-hmm. Was born from that. It was born from that, because a GoFundMe is very helpful, but I see that we can do far better work over there, and so, and it also a little bit goes a long way, is not just limited to Africa. I want it to move around the world and also be locally. And like I said, just helping people, you can help people by just talking to them and, listening to them and giving somebody a meal, or, any way you can help them. Yeah. And that's what a little bit goes a long way stands for. Our current mission is just in Uganda right now, and once we get them stable and provide sustainability, then we'll move on to the next one, but still be caring over there. Yeah. And I want it to spread out across the world. And then also, when you think about it, if we can get enough people to have this mindset, it's going to start to, we'll be that push in the world that's helping people, because there are people out there. I'm just one out of hundreds or maybe thousands of people trying to help people in other countries and stuff. And so I feel blessed and honored to have been called to this mission. And I'm all the way, before I go, I'm going to make sure that this is an ongoing machine that is helping people. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did, and more. You did, and more. So let's talk about kind of what the big plan is for the community there. So my understanding is that the original plan was to help them purchase the land. Is that still the case, or to actually move them elsewhere where they are much safer, Boone?
Right, and so that was the plan, and it's just been a little altered based on my visit there. So going over there and seeing their conditions, I realized that we shouldn't elevate their living conditions there. We should move them just not too far, because you kind of want them in their community, but we want to move them and purchase 2 acres and build a shelter and start farming. So a shelter on 1 acre and farming on the 2nd acre, right? And so the reason is because we want to build something that is secure for them, because right now where they live, the girls are separated from them. They're like in one area, you have to go around a corner, and then the girls are there, and then you have to, on this other side, the boys, right? And it's not really safe because it's not sealed. We did make some changes when we were there. They're temporary. You know, we put a metal door up for the girls because that was the concern for them. And so I was like, you know, this is a 911 situation right now. Can you tell me how much this will cost? And can you get it done while I'm here? And they were like, the metal door is going to cost about $200. I was like, you got to do it. Just make sure it's done while I'm here, you know, because I want to see it. So we sealed the girls' door, and they were very grateful for that. And I also felt better just sealing that door, because you can just walk in off the streets and, you know, take them or do something to them. And for the most part, Ugandans are not violent people, but they are living in poverty, and they probably will do whatever they can to make it, right? And so we also provided mosquito nets for them, you know, and that was a blessing to them to you know, because all of them didn't have mosquito nets, right? And so we also bought them a motorcycle to drive as taxi, to do taxi service, and that would give them enough food for the day, you know, as long as they make the money while they're doing, because their motorcycles, there's a million of them just driving around. Everybody's doing it, you know. So that was a real blessing to do those things. I felt like, oh, wow, we did something over there. And when I say we, everyone that was donated, I don't care if you donated a quarter, we as a group made a change over there. I just know that it's temporary. Just as us giving them money every month, I don't think that's the solution. I think building them a sustainable situation, which is a shelter and farming. The farming is the key. And so I met a doctor, Dr. Emma Nailuima, and she specializes in farming. And so I set up a meeting with her out there, and we met, and I brought the caregivers to meet her. That wasn't the original idea. It was really just for me to go talk to her to see if she would be on board with this. But I thought it would be best if I brought Simba and Kigozi and the other two caregivers to meet, so she can see that this, first of all, this is serious. We really need your help. Secondly, so they understand that it will be the key to their sustainability. And so that was a joyous moment right there, you know, taking them over to her and meeting, and she showing us her unique style of farming, because she knows how to farm, turn a profit on 1 acre. And it's so interesting. She had these animals, she's using insects, she's using all this stuff. But and the plan is to send the caregivers to her school for 2 weeks. It's a hands-on training. It's going to show them how to farm. And then that way they'll be able to teach the orphans how to farm on the land that we're going to set up. And then she will oversee, you know, come down there, she'll set it up, teach them, and you know, come out here and there to make sure everything is growing, you know, and so the whole, what we would like to do is start a program within this shelter, and part of it will be with the farming, and it's much bigger than Shepherd's Hand and the orphans we're caring for right now. This is a system that will be able to filter in orphans after orphans. And so that it's I can feel that. It's amazing that just meeting them, this idea came from all of this, just from meeting them online. I could have swiped, and now I feel like God put this on my heart to do this thing that can be transferred to other countries. Even here, we can build some sustainable system that will teach people how to live and be sustainable, you know? Yeah. And I think we all can do it, you know? So I don't have all the answers, just so you know, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how, I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen because I'm already celebrating in my head and in my heart for them. So I don't know.
That's so great. It's so great because I think you just talking about it moves people. I hope that through this conversation, and more and more people eyes will be opened, the way it did for you when you saw that post. And for us at Just Wish Foundation, we just your zest, your zest for life, and your big heart is just so, it's just, we could feel it. It's just so contagious, your desire to help this community and beyond. And we want to do our part, and we want to support. A little bit goes a long way, because we know that you will be able to use it to really help this community, and we want to be part of that. We want to champion for you and those kids, and so we want to do our part, and we want to help. But we applaud you, Boone, for taking action. It's not like I said, people sometimes feel things, but there is no follow through, and you did that and beyond. And just God bless your heart, and those kids and that community. You're leaving a legacy behind. You are making sure that they are not just okay, but not just surviving, but thriving, as a community and as children.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much, Boone. God bless you and all that you do. And a little bit goes a long way. Wow, that's how we should live our lives, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Boone.
Hey, thank you for having me.
To you.
All right.
And a little bit goes a long way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Why can't we achieve a sustainable peace? Why can't we have a sustainable future? Why can't we achieve a sustainable peace?